Welcome, guys, to the Ask the Expert series. This is Andres, your care specialist with SmithLife Homecare in partnership with Charles C. Smith Life Communities. They've been in the helping the community for over 100 years. Here at Smith Life, we've been helping patients and customers for 20 years. I have the special guest here, Michela from Suburban. Michela, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what your role at Suburban is?
Yeah, so my name is Michaela. I am a social worker here at Suburban Hospital. I have many names that I go by: discharge planner, case manager, care coordinator, social worker. So we do it all. We help with the transition to whatever the next step is from the hospital. So that could look like going home, going to a rehab center. It could be going to assisted living, all kinds of different things. So we try to make that process as smooth as possible, as easy as possible, and as safe as possible. Our biggest thing is safety, obviously. So,
No, absolutely. I
yeah.
know, like in the community, you always hear, social work, you hear case management. You say you do a lot of everything. How does that come about?
So that could look very different depending on what your care plan is. And we do
Okay.
work with like patients and families based on what's the safest option. So obviously if it's going home, we'll get you set up with home health care as needed, whether it be a nurse, a physical therapist, that or the other. And then obviously if you need like a rehab stay, we usually will get your preferences where you'd like to go, and coordinate that transition to wherever it is your preference might be.
Got it.
Um, yeah.
What role do patient care managers play in coordinating the post-discharge care, and how can patients and families effectively communicate with them?
So we usually have offices on the floor. So the best thing is to see us in person. Ask as many questions as you need to. There's no too few or no too many questions that you can ask. Obviously, before you get to the hospital, it's really good to have those conversations with your family members ahead of
Yeah.
time. Get advanced directives going, wills going, power of attorney paperwork, or know
Mhm.
what you want out of your care, and where you'd like to go. Sometimes even from your experience of using companies before, know who you liked and who you didn't like, what kind of services you did like and didn't like, know your expectations, and
Yeah,
just be
it's
honest.
really great that you mentioned the power of attorney. I think that's the one that we previously did last month. Is that something that you guys really like helps you guys move things along?
Yeah, absolutely. We have advanced directives here at the hospital.
Okay.
So if that's something that you need to start, like the power of attorney discussions, we can give you a copy of that. And then, but I always recommend getting it legally bound by somebody,
Mm,
like a lawyer, like family
yeah.
lawyer. And then you just need to have it notarized, really. So it does,
Okay.
make you have a witness for the notary. So that's important to get it legally bound. That way it can be universal versus just hospital
Oh wow.
based.
Yeah, okay. That's a big difference. I don't think
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay. And how can patients ensure like the smooth transition besides what we had just talked about? Is there anything else that, from the hospital to home care? What resources and typically are available to assist in this process?
So we have a very wide range of resources. So depending on what you need, if you need home care, we'll get that arranged for you. A lot of times patients will go home and they'll have extra questions. You can always
Right.
ask the hospital, ask your case manager, after the fact. Just call us and we can answer the best we can. Another great resource is your primary doctor.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a great resource because they can also get you arranged with home care as needed. They have usually sometimes they'll have a social worker as well in the office that can help with transitioning. We have a very wide range of transition guide services, so that can include transition guide nursing, diabetes self-management team. Both can help with the transition home.
Yeah.
Diabetes, obviously, focus on diabetes, and we also have remote patient monitoring.
I
So
was just
that,
gonna ask you, so how long do
yeah,
you guys see them while after they get home? Like, do you follow them like through everything? So once they settle in?
we don't follow them home. We do
Okay.
recommend you follow up with your primary care doctor.
Okay.
But our remote patient monitoring can help for patients with COVID and with chronic heart
Okay, so there's
failure.
specific things that you do kind of follow up on. Okay,
Yep,
got it.
yep. So yeah, chronic heart failure. or CHF, and a COVID can help with that transition home, as well as diabetes as well can help. And then everything else, we have transition guide nursing that can help with different services.
And that will be a different from not like the social worker or care manager. That's a team that will do that.
It is a different team. They are kind of like care managers. Some of them have care management licenses of different kinds. But yeah, they do work with us in tandem in the hospital and outside the
Okay,
hospital. Yep.
gotcha. And what are the most common challenges that patients face after discharge? And like, how can we, migrate or fix these things that are commonly going on?
So a lot of times, patients will underestimate what kind of care they need at home.
Mm,
So sometimes they'll get home and it'll just be too much.
right.
So a lot of times we can get you arranged with an aid service or a private duty service. Sometimes a little bit of extra help can assist with that transition home. But also we can help out with home care if you need home care set up. But a lot of times we will ask you to go to your primary care doctor because they have more FaceTime with you than in the hospital. Because after the
Right.
hospital, we're kind
Yeah,
of
with the
hands off.
hospitalization, it's pretty short time that you're in front
Yeah.
of them, based on some type of accident or hospitalization that they got. That
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. Okay. I
Yeah.
did have a question. How long have you been with Suburban?
I've been with Suburban almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in January,
Three
actually.
years, January?
Yep.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. It
What's the
does not
best
feel
part
like
about
it.
Suburban?
I love our team. So I work on a medical surgical floor, and our team is so, um, I don't want to say seamless, but we're in constant communication with
Yeah,
each other. We can tell each other everything, which makes it a very good process for patient care and helping out with like the discharge process and being realistic with okay what's going to be the safest plan for that patient.
yeah.
So it's helpful to have a great team as well as our care coordination team. It's just the
Yeah,
best.
I mean, I'm sure that helps with discharges too when, you guys are kind of all on the same page and they're hearing the
Absolutely.
same thing instead of
Yeah.
maybe one person says something, then they're like, somebody else is saying something else.
Right.
Okay, well, which
Absolutely.
one is it? And like, can I just go
Yeah.
home at this point, right? It's usually what, what comes up at the end of that.
Yeah, and our culture of like safety and culture of like patient care first is also really great because it makes us patient focused. And when you walk through Suburban, at least for me, I look at each patient I take care of as like my family. Like how would I want to be treated if I was in the hospital? And I look at everybody like my family. I like to know everybody on a face-to-face basis, on a name-to-name basis, instead of just a room number. So that's really important to know your patients and patients' families, like personally.
Yeah, I mean, people are people, right? And they want to be
Yeah,
treated as such. You're not a number, you're not a diagnosis or whatever,
right.
and then when the families are involved, you definitely want to feel that compassion.
Yeah,
I see that same thing in home care as well when I'm going in hospitals and rehabs.
yeah,
You're
yep,
not just the next, patient that you got to go see, but it's like, how can we really help this person meet the goals? And, eventually that goal is to discharge, and
yeah,
be
yep,
safe at home.
yep. And that's our goal. Safety is first.
Gotcha. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that we haven't covered in a short time here that you want to, bring out or talk about?
I think we covered everything, but yeah, definitely one thing I always suggest to family members is advocate for your family members too. When we're not able to do it at home with you guys, make sure that you can kind of pick up where we left off if needed. Hopefully not, but
Right.
I definitely push for families being their eyes and ears when we can't
Yeah,
be.
yeah. I'm glad that you also mentioned the medical directives and the
Mhm.
power of attorney stuff. If you guys have any questions, watch our last episode from last month that they did. Erica Chavez did a whole video going over it, what it was involved, how to and the process of what it takes to reach out to a lawyer and get it all done. So thank you for bringing that up once again. I know it's very
Yeah.
important. Thank you for your time. Hopefully
Thank you for
this
having
information
me.
is valuable to somebody out there watching.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Michaela. It's been a pleasure.
You too.